It appears President Trump is on pace to be one of the most divisive presidents in our nation's history. But does President Trump's support have a ceiling or a floor? A new CBS News Nation Tracker poll takes a closer look at a divided America and the groups who support and oppose the Trump administration. CBS News elections director Anthony Salvanto joins me now from Washington to break it all down. All right, Anthony, this is so fascinating because I think one of the criticisms is sometimes that there's more nuance out in the country than we're able to portray. So explain to us how this study was done.
Right. Thanks, Elaine. Good to talk to you. So what we wanted to do was dive in a little deeper behind what's sometimes just a throwaway line like the country is divided and understand just who the groups are, not only who support the president and talk to plenty of them and who oppose the president and talk to them, but those who could really go either way. And what you learn when you do this is that the range of his support is actually a lot bigger than you might think. We identified 4 basic groups. One who call themselves Trump supporters, period. So we're labeling them the Trump believers because they like everything that President Trump is doing and they like the way that he's doing it. There's this second group that we're calling the conditionals. They also support the president, but unlike the believers, they're putting some conditions on that. They say he has to fix the economy, and they might drop their support a little lower if he doesn't. They're not as interested even in things like the travel ban and the wall. Then you get this third group, Elaine, that's really interesting. They're not supporting the president right now, but they say that they could reconsider if, and here we are again back to the economy, if he makes things better for them. At the moment, though, the biggest barrier for them seems to be that they also don't feel like he respects people like them, like he respects people of different views. So he's got to deliver on policy, but they also feel like he's got to reach out for them, and then maybe they could come over too, Elaine.
Well, what do we know? You laid out a little bit of it, but what do we know about President Trump's most loyal supporters, the believers?
Yeah, those most loyal supporters, they not only like the travel ban, but they are also with the president all the way on enforcing it. So they even think that he should go around or through the courts. If the courts overrule the ban, he should still try to enforce it. They're very concerned about national security at home. They're very concerned about terrorism. So they put that at the top of their list. And one of the things that makes them different from the folks who are conditionally supporting him is they're not quite as focused on the economy, Elaine.
And so the second group, the conditional supporters, what do they think about President Trump and his policies?
Well, one of the things they like a lot is that they think he's shaking up Washington, and they feel like he's not a typical politician. And we saw this, of course, all through the campaign. These are the kind of folks who swung to the president very late in the campaign, a little more independent, and that's why they're a little more focused, too, on the economy as opposed to ideology. They're a little more moderate, somewhat mixed in conservatives, but they also are also concerned about safety, but it's that economic focus that they need. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The next group, called the Curious, are still waiting to see some results. Specifically, what would make them get behind President Trump?
Well, they share with supporters, they also think he's shaking up Washington, and they like that. They don't so much like the stylistic things. They're not as in favor of him tweeting a lot, for example. But in contrast to other current Trump detractors, they're not as angry. There's a group, also a group heavily Democratic, that we're calling the resistors. Those folks are a little bit angrier and a little bit more pessimistic. These folks here, a little more on the fence. They're more of adopting that wait-and-see attitude, unlike, as I mentioned, that other group, the resistors. And those folks say they want Democrats to oppose the president at every turn, and they also say that they feel the president doesn't respect them.
And is there anything that can win over the resistors?
At the moment, no, but that respect is a starting point. These folks tend to be not only Democrats and some liberals, but they also tend to be more minority voters, the folks who are really part of that Democratic base. The other thing I think, Elaine, is interesting is it sets up kind of a conundrum for Democrats in the legislature, because these resistors, as I mentioned, they want the Democrats to oppose the president at every turn, but other opponents, who are more on the fence, the curious, we're calling them, they want the Democrats to work with the president on things on which they might agree, things like building roads and bridges and infrastructure where they can find maybe some common ground. So for the Democrats who have to talk to sort of both of these groups and try to win them back over, that could be a tough balancing act, Elaine.
All right, really fascinating look at these different perspectives. CBS News Elections Director Anthony Salvanto, thanks so much, Anthony.
Thanks.